yesterday was not the day for go back. What is this? It was not how I intended to. Jorge Lopez yesterday, who again had a nice glove toss into the stands, and then was very adamant that he's healthy, he's good to go. He'll be back at the ballpark tomorrow.
A ballpark tomorrow.
A ballpark. Yeah. They'll look for him, but we'll just laugh about that throughout the morning. There was some interesting college basketball news yesterday. A lot of stuff now coming out about who's staying in and out of the draft, and might even get a little bit of that with Bronny James, just from a standpoint of him now electing to stay in the draft and what that means actually for the NBA. A player that I'm not sure, Preston, will have much of an impact on the NBA in terms of scoring and passing and dunking and shooting and winning championships. But what he has decided to do now could change the future of the NBA for one LeBron James and maybe for one franchise just a little bit.
Oh, it will change the NBA. The NBA will be definitely impacted by the drafting of a very mediocre to sub-mediocre, undersized shooting tweener from a no longer existent Pac-12 school.
You I think hit me up with, well, you put it on our rundown a couple of weeks ago, I think about the NBA draft and about the strength of this NBA draft. I got posed a question yesterday that I'm going to pose to you.
Okay.
Later on in the show,
right,
about what would you rather have, and just see what you think. So we'll get into that a little bit this morning. In terms of college basketball, South Carolina yesterday, a newsy day. Boy, a newsy day for men's basketball. Women basketball picks up a transfer commitment, so a newsy day for basketball here around town. It was a day that the news that I was excited about, South Carolina announcing an away game next year at Indiana. I do want to say, as far as I saw, and I could be wrong on this, it was not announced as a home and home series, but I'm going to assume that it will be a home and home series, and that actually had me pretty excited. The Gamecocks go to Assembly Hall a Saturday, November the 16th.
Yeah, I did see that. That was very interesting. And then I had to cycle through my Indiana coaches, which
did you figure out who's there now?
I think, did I land on Mike Woodson?
You did?
Which, surprisingly, I had to cycle back. I was like, okay, it's not this guy, it's not this guy, it's not that guy. And then I landed on Mike Woodson. I was like, huh. Mike Woodson?
You got it correct.
Yeah, that was without the help of the internet. So I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back.
Good job. Good job. Yeah. So we'll talk
Strangely enough.
Talk about that. South Carolina, Lamont Paris loses an assistant coach.
Speaking about goatees, that's a throwback, elite goatee level for
Mike Woodson.
Oh, yes,
he's
phenomenal goatee.
Worn it strong for many a year.
Yes,
for many a year as he worn it very strong. So with all that said, we'll get into some basketball stuff there, some really good stuff there from South Carolina yesterday. I do want to get into that scheduling note because that was a lot of fun. Tim Buckley, though, moving on from South Carolina basketball, he will take a job with Cincinnati. So Lamont Paris now has an opening on his staff to bring someone in for maybe player development or another recruiter if that's where he wants to go. The more I play video games, the more I kind of look at it and I'm like, yes, I would love to have both. But, if I do certain video games, and this might come about in NCAA 25, where do I want his strength meter to be a little bit higher? Player development, recruiting?
Well, if you were playing the old college football games, you would definitely throw all your chips into recruiting.
Okay.
I've read some developments that they're trying to fix that hack, and there are now 11 coaching skilling trees in which you can pick from. And I have a concern. I'm not sure if I'm ready to voice it yet, but I think the nerds might have gone too far.
Oh, I don't know. I want to.
I'm working on this take. The more I'm reading about this game, the more I'm hearing. I'm thinking the nerds might have went too far.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get into that because I feel like I'm getting updates on a consistent basis from you and from Austin. Mm-hmm. Austin yesterday was just steady giving me all the updates, as apparently people like Andy Staples and some other people, Matt Brown, I believe, have been able to go down to Orlando and actually play the game. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. A lot to get to this morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program. Again, we'll do some chop talk later on, talk about the Braves and what's been going on. Another bad night for them last night. Not exactly the way things needed to go for them. We'll talk about that, and then, of course, we will, as always, catch up with Josh Harris coming up at about 8:30 this morning. Our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge.
Oh, boy.
Two ways to look at it. It's either heating up a little bit, Jen's making a little bit of a push here, or Preston has hit his wall, so to speak. He is spun out. He's burst a tire. And, oh, boy, yeah,
Hey, but if he hit a wall, there's a safer barrier, so he's safe. He's good.
yeah, it's still early. It's still
All our goals are still in front of us.
We're just hitting we just wrapped up the first half of the season.
Okay.
My
right.
personal opinion on this from after last year. Last year was an eye opener. We go to Madison, Illinois, this week for the Worldwide Tech Raceway. But yeah, Preston, you're 5 behind Josh, 6 behind Jen, 13 behind us. You got to get it going here by about right after 4th of July weekend. You got to pick it up because that's where Reggie really made his run last year.
So all our goals are still in front of us.
Everything's still there.
Say with some more confidence.
All
of our goals are still in front of us.
That's right. It's still there. You just might want to start working toward those goals.
I'm not quite towards my guy Jorge Lopez. I'm not quite to his status yet. Not quite there yet.
No. So we'll get into that later on this morning as well. Again, 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. We'll talk some South Carolina baseball regionals, though. Gamecocks left yesterday and made their way up to Raleigh to start getting prepared for that series. And we'll talk a little bit about that. North Carolina State, again, odds came out. I'll give you those. The Circa Sportsbook putting out the odds for South Carolina for all the regionals, if you will, Preston Thorne. And I put out a tweet, and yeah, boy, I will say this: South Carolina, not the favorite in the regional, but not bad. I'll tell you about that. Clemson, on the other hand, Eric Bakich, you better get out of your own regional now.
He did it to himself.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
did it to himself.
Yeah, he did. So we'll talk about all that this morning. Again, 803-404-6100. We'll let you listen to a little bit of Mark Kingston. We'll talk about some of this regional here as we get ready. That'll get going 2 o'clock tomorrow right here at 107.5 The Game. It is streaming. And let me make this note for those of you who aren't kind of familiar with this. Now, good news for Preston. This is where your do we want to call it your laziness, your lack of technology, your lack of how to use technology? It is streaming on ESPN Plus, which is entirely different. You said you have the ESPN Plus app, which you can never remember to cancel.
Once a month I get reminded
right.
that I have it.
Yes. You get so we can all go over to Preston's house because he has ESPN Plus streaming.
Pretty sure.
And it will come in handy.
Okay.
Because tomorrow you will be if you have the SEC Network Plus streaming or you've been using that to watch games throughout the year.
That's something different.
That is totally different. This is ESPN Plus entirely, and that is the $6.99 or $9.99 or whatever package that you have to pay for that is entirely different than the SEC Network Plus. So you have to have the package.
Okay. I think the problem is I don't know whether I have the package.
You don't know what you're paying for.
I get charged for something, and then it's just a random, like, sports is. I get charged for something every month that just says $10.99 sports, and that feels very nefarious. Like I'm trying to hide something from my wife or something. Like that's very strange.
Yeah, see, it's sports. I do sports. Got to pay for sports. It says sports.
Seems very strange. I think that is the. I think I have that.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, but
then I got to figure out what the password is.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So okay. So maybe we won't all gather at Preston's, but the point is that's the only way you can stream it tomorrow. So. You best bet you're going to be listening to it right here, 107.5 The Game. Again, 1:45 pregame, 2 o'clock first pitch up there in Raleigh as the Gamecocks and James Madison get set to hook up. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that a little bit, get back into that basketball news from yesterday because there's some either really interesting news and really exciting news, depending on how you want to look at it. We'll get into all that this morning and more. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner. She's Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Another great weekend of sports is on the horizon, and how are you going to celebrate that weekend? It is grilling season, and there's no better place to start than Old Timey Meat Market, who's built their business on the idea of providing Columbia, Irmo, South Congaree, Lexington with a non-grocery store meat buying experience, and I can promise you that's exactly what you get. It's totally different. You walk in, the butchers get to know you at your selected store. They talk to you about what kind of cuts of meat you like. They'll even do some special orders. You have 5-pound boxes of chicken breast or ribeyes. Anything you want is at your fingertips when you go visit Old Timey Meat Market in one of their 3 locations, South Congaree, Lexington, or the St. Andrews Road store in Irmo. You will not be disappointed because they have the absolute best selection and best cuts of meat with the absolute best prices. I know I visit there every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Go visit Old Timey Meat Market for yourself. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Don't have any accidents to report at this time. Getting a report, though, of a disabled vehicle that could just be getting attention. I-20 westbound there at Highway 378. That's exit 61. But other than that, things moving well. Let's keep it that way for your Thursday. 84 for the high today and tomorrow with sunny skies. Hit 86 and 85 respectively on Saturday and Sunday as clouds roll in just a little bit. Still not seeing many rain chances really until about maybe Tuesday or so. So we'll continue to enjoy the dry weather. The sun is trying to work its way out. It is 61 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Well, I think it's fair. It's not terrible, but it's not easy. I do think that how we view South Carolina changed a little bit this week with the 6-game losing streak heading into the tournament. Kind of limping in. If they would have dropped that first game, we would have really been wondering about, one, would they get in, and two, if they did, what kind of mindset would they have? But boy, with the run the way they played in Hoover, especially offensively, with what Cole Messina did, I mean, and it wasn't just him, although he sucked out all the airtime. That was a really potent offense. And on the mound, South Carolina mixed and matched all week. They didn't get a lot of deep starts, but they had a lot of guys who were able to come through and fill various roles. And I think that's going to be the formula again this weekend, because they're playing a team. This is going to be an offensive regional. So NC State's, they have some good pitchers, not great, but they really can swing it. James Madison is similar. And I think that because of that, that's a pretty good matchup, because it's going to be the ugly kind of games that South Carolina tends to play, and they're really comfortable in that kind of format. And I think that because of that, I mean, this is about as good a group of teams as, because South Carolina is just going to fit right in with.
That was Mark Etheridge yesterday, joining the halftime show to talk about South Carolina and how they look in this upcoming regional. And Preston Thorne, I like this region. Like, this feels like a good fit for South Carolina. This feels like a regional where South Carolina is, and I'm being biased. But it feels like they very well could be the best team in this regional. Jamie Bradford said on Tuesday he thought South Carolina had the best pitching staff going into this regional. I thought that was a little insane, but if you actually break it down, you start looking at the numbers, Jamie Bradford's not wrong on that. And the odds for this regional, this was put out yesterday. Circa Sports out in Las Vegas put out the regional winners, and for the Raleigh regional, North Carolina State is plus 123. Now, they're the favorite, plus 123. For those of you who wonder what that means, it means if you bet $100, you win $123.
Okay.
Maybe, or if you want to just bet $10, you win $12.30. You get the point. South Carolina's plus 135. That's not a drastic difference, because then you jump to James Madison, and James Madison is plus 532, and Bryant is plus 2,225. So if you put $100 on Bryant, you would win 2,225. See how that's working there. So, again, what you see is South Carolina and North Carolina State basically being just about equal, and that also should tell you there are not any other – there's just there's only three other regionals. There's only three other regionals where the host team is plus money, meaning you would win more money than you would bet. Wake Forest is actually the favorite in the Greenville regional for East Carolina. Wake Forest is, according to Circa Sports, Wake Forest is plus 103, which is basically even money. Arizona is plus 188 in the Tucson regional, and Cal Santa Barbara is plus 127 in the Santa Barbara regional. So you see what I'm saying there? What it's telling me is, everybody else is minus money, which means you would win less money than you would put up if you were to bet money on it. For example, Clemson in their regional is minus 102. So you'd only win about $98, $97, depending on how that bet goes.
That all makes a lot of sense. And since we're just throwing numbers around, let's keep the party going. So when they looked at the regional, and again, we talked about Stats Award, who's a great follow on Twitter if you're interested in a lot of analytical type of things. He put out the team's chances of advancing out of the regional. And based on these regionals, you can read it two ways. South Carolina's chances of advancing out of the regionals was considerably lower than Tennessee's, Kentucky's, Texas A&M, and Georgia's. Tennessee was 74%, Georgia was 57%, Texas A&M was 67%, South Carolina's was 40%. So they're considerably lower than those teams. You think, okay, that's not good. However, when you put North Carolina State's, whose regional they are in, what their chances were. Their chances of advancing are only 47%. So that corroborates what you're saying. They are a favorite to get out of the regional, but not by a tremendous amount. South Carolina is right behind them, and this was based on them running a bunch of computer simulations based on the team. So North Carolina's chances of advancing were 47%. South Carolina's was 41 essentially. So you're right there behind it. And I believe NC State was one of the few teams that had less than a 50% chance of getting out of their regional. You say all that to say that if they go out there and play, this was a pretty good draw. You talk the coaching cliches, we'll play whoever, wherever, whenever. But when those coaches looked at the draw that they had, I'm sure they were like, okay, this is something that's favorable for them.
I think you got to, if you look at the other regionals, kind of what we're discussing here, that were realistic, North Carolina, they sent LSU there. I feel like that's a tougher, North Carolina was a top 8 national seed. I feel like that would have been a tougher regional than what South Carolina ended up getting. They were the number 4 national seed. LSU got sent there, and LSU had that nice run. Now, the body of work, the resume for LSU throughout the whole season was not as good as South Carolina's, but LSU had the very nice run to the championship game. We're well aware of that at the SEC tournament. That had been a regional that had been discussed, and also the Clemson regional where Vanderbilt got sent. Again, you and I, from a standpoint of discussions this week, that would have been pretty neat and pretty wild to discuss Clemson, South Carolina, Coastal Carolina, Gary Gilmore's potential last ride, South Carolina and Clemson, all the little storylines that would have come along with that. But that also would have been a pressure-packed regional. A lot of things maybe didn't want. This feels like a non-pressure regional with South Carolina playing pretty good. And, again, finding maybe some of the things that their pitching staff did well last week and trying to offset the errors. And, again, if you look at it, South Carolina or North Carolina State, 33-20 overall. They had a great strength of schedule. The metrics, all those things that Mark Kingston talked about throughout the season about, this is why we should get in and this is what we should do. All those things that he talked about actually came to fruition for North Carolina State. They had the number 3 strength of schedule. South Carolina had the number 8 strength of schedule. North Carolina State had the number 15 RPI. South Carolina had the number 21 RPI. Again, the conference record, North Carolina State, after everything was finished, 19-12. South Carolina's, after everything was finished in the conference, 16-19. Not a huge difference. South Carolina had 3 more wins than North Carolina State, Preston Thorne. It feels like that lines up well. And then, of course, you get James Madison, who our buddy Jamie Bradford basically was pretty adamant shouldn't even be in the tournament.
Yeah, he was pretty clear on that. Jim, we have a clip real quick. I think it's clip number 1, just talking about what they bring to the table, because I'm not sure how many of you sickos were out there scouting James Madison, but if you haven't been scouting, here's really quickly talking about James Madison.
I'll be honest, this is a heavy-hitting Dukes lineup. 1 through 9 has continued to produce game in and game out. And also, right now, they've had the 3rd most home run program history this season. But on top of that, probably their bread and butter comes from their run game and the ability on their sacrifice bunts, being able to move runners in scoring position. They're kind of a dual threat when it comes to that. They can do a bit of everything, and the numbers have just continued to show. I mean, there's been so many games. I can't even count how many times they've had double-digit runs by the end of it. They are a little unorthodox, and I think a lot of teams in the Sun Belt tournament really weren't noticing what JMU has been doing this year, and it really showed in some of the preparation or in some of the game plans. And this is a team that can make a run. Their offense is there. It's just a matter of who's going to score the most at the end of it.
Feel better or worse now?
I like their odds.
Okay.
I feel better. I mean, look, I'm not as worried about the defense as some are. South Carolina fielded at a high clip. I do agree. I know after a weekend in which you had multiple errors, it's a little – you don't want to hear your coach point out what the season average was in fielding. I understand that from a fan standpoint, because you're just like, well, it's good. Why didn't you do it last week? I'm okay with South Carolina's defense. They'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. What I like is I feel like they learned even more about their pitching staff last week and how they want to use it to get past James Madison, and then what we would only assume is to set up for the NC State game on Saturday afternoon. So I like that, thinking that if you got to win game one, it's kind of all hands on deck in game one. I like the options they have.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Like I said, I haven't been scouting JMU. I'm sure most of you haven't either. So I thought that was just interesting to hear what they characterized as their team.
803-404-6100. We'll talk a little basketball. Tim Buckley out, heading to Cincinnati. That means Lamont Paris has got a opening on his staff. If it was a video game, do you skew more a little bit to recruiting in basketball? Do you go a little bit more toward player development? I get it. We all want that coach who can do both. But where would you go? And then a really fun non-conference game scheduled for South Carolina coming up in November. We'll tell you about that. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Hey, this is Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. The kitchen we had redone, totally had to gut it due to a flood, and CHW Cabinetry was there and so very helpful. Helped us figure out the layout for the kitchen, some fun accessories we got to add, the photorealistic rendering. I talk about it all the time, but it was so helpful because it was a picture of our completed kitchen before it was completed, and then we could get to the business of finding new flooring, new countertops, and all the fun stuff that we needed to complete the kitchen. But they do more than just kitchens. If you have a closet that needs to be more functional, they have so many options to replace those wire hanging racks. They'll give you drawers and other storage to really make your closet something that you can enjoy. They can maximize the functionality of your closet, of your pantry. They can create home office workspaces. I encourage you to visit chwcabinetry.com or call them today at 803-520-6837 and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. No accidents to report this Thursday morning, and we welcome that. We've earned a good, easy commute, haven't we? And as far as the forecast goes, man, I think we are going to welcome the weather. Also, 84 for the high today and tomorrow under sunny skies, 86, 85 Saturday and Sunday. Not really any chances for rain that we are seeing at this point until about Tuesday, and then we just have a couple days of that. But 61 with the sun coming out right now on the early game.
.635 as we get you up and get you rolling here on your Thursday morning. As we've talked a little baseball, South Carolina set to head up to Raleigh. Again, we'll have that for you right here on 107.5 The Game tomorrow, 1:45 pregame, 2 o'clock first pitch, Gamecocks and James Madison. I believe Mark Kingston will meet with the media up there later on today. Maybe at that point, Preston, we will find out who they're going to start tomorrow. That'll be an interesting. That will be something. I like Mark Kingston. Very rarely does he ever have a media meeting where I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to hear what he's got to say.
Right.
I am actually interested to hear because once I hear who the starter is, it feels like it's going to give me an idea of how they're trying to set up the rotation to weave their way through the weekend.
The strategy, we talked about it a lot yesterday. What do? Do you go with your best pitcher? Do you try and save your pitcher for game number 2? Do you put all hands on deck for game number 1? How many pitches are people going to throw? This is where, I guess, this is why they get paid the money they do and why they have the expertise they do. They're going to lean on analytics. We get all of that. But it's still going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. And I think once we figure out who they decide to start, that might give us a clue on what their strategy is for the rest of the regional.
I'm with you on that. So we'll pay attention. We'll talk some more baseball as we kind of go through the morning. But it was basketball yesterday that kind of took center stage. And which direction do you want to go first? It's like we could spin our wheel over here. Do you go with the kind of tougher news? And I'll bring this up in a minute because this is something that's happened at South Carolina a few times in the last few years, and it's derailed runs. So this is not positive news right now. Or do you want to go with the news I really like?
Let's go. This may be a little bit of test. I like to generally get the bad news first.
Okay. So South Carolina yesterday loses Tim Buckley. He is going to take a job with Cincinnati. Buckley was kind of the seasoned, the veteran, the elder statesman, the honorary old guy. He wasn't honorary. He was actually a very nice guy. But he was kind of the guy with all the experience, a Pete Limbo, if you will, kind of to help Lamont Paris with his transition. Now, Lamont Paris's transitions, I would say perfectly fine from the mid-major level as a head coach to the high major. This was this year, but Tim Buckley was kind of that guy. He was the elder statesman of that staff, maybe the guy that would say, no, we got to try this. He was instrumental in recruiting Eli Ellis, although that was also a staff deal. Buckley is 60 years old. He would have been 61 when the season started. His birthday is September 10th, same as my daughter. I did not realize that. But he, again, was kind of the elder statesman, if you will, Preston Thorne, that maybe would say that's not how we did this here. That's not how we did that there. I did think this was a wild cheap shot yesterday, and I don't know if it was a cheap shot or not. Tom Crean, former Marquette coach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, if you go back in your way back calendar, when Darren Horn was hired at South Carolina, one of the top things about Darren Horn was he recruited Dwayne Wade. That was his guy, right? Like, I've always remembered that, and I talked to Darren Horn about that. I've talked to him before about that, and that was Darren Horn's calling card, if you will, right?
Okay.
He was the guy that got Dwayne Wade to Marquette under Tom Crean. And yesterday, Tom Crean says, congratulations to Go Bearcats basketball for bringing in Tim Buckley. We would not have known about Dwayne Wade without him at Marquette basketball. He got me to see what Travis Diener could be. So he basically is giving Tim Buckley all the credit for Dwayne Wade and not Darren Horn.
Oh, Darren Horn saw that. He saw that.
I don't know if he saw that or not.
Oh,
but
he saw it.
And Darren Horn's got an ego. And not to go too far off the path of this, but I did think that was funny yesterday. But Tim Buckley was kind of the older, experienced guy of this staff.
Well, I always favor having that type of person in staff. So I'm really interested when you talk about, where do you push the lever as far as the coach you want to bring in? Do you bring in, a young, hot recruiting guy that's familiar with the grassroots scene? That's one way. Do you bring in an old grizzled vet who wants to teach you the 3 positions of basketball? Do you bring in that guy? This is an interesting call. This is the first time we've had Lamont making this call, and this will give us a clue in how he feels about his current staff, how he feels about himself, where he sees the program going. So this is a pretty vital hire that he's about to make.
And that's nothing against Tanner Bronson and Eddie Shannon, who are good, very good assistants. Matter of fact, I've been very impressed with what they're doing on the recruiting trail and how they're doing it. You look at what they're building and how they're going about building it. But the one thing I look at is the last 2 coaches who have been here. By the way, are you aware of this? Is anybody aware of this? Because this might be a first ever. What I'm about to tell you might legitimately be a first. Now, it's very early. Do you know who has the number 1 rated basketball, number 1 in the nation? All basketball teams. Everybody. Do you know who has the number 1 rated basketball recruiting class in the 2025 class? It would be one Lamont Paris and the University of South Carolina. Now, they have 3 commitments. There's some analytics and some numbers there to that helps them out. But South Carolina currently has the number 1 recruiting class in the country in the 2025 class.
When did that become something that you can post up somewhere and get news out of? You do it now?
Yes. Go ahead and take it.
Okay. That even as I felt like that's what you was gonna say, I also assumed that there was some trick question to that. Thought you was gonna say like Cincinnati does, and that's why he's going there.
Providence
I didn't know what
Providence is 2, Georgia Tech's 3, Iowa State, UCF, Syracuse, Georgia, Missouri, Illinois, Florida. You notice you don't hear some of the Kansas, the Dukes, the North Carolina. I get it. It's early.
Is that because they come in late?
But I'll be honest. No, it's just but I'll be honest. Screenshot that bad boy and hold on to that because that may be the first time that's ever occurred.
Yeah, you screenshot it and you send it to that class and say, look, guys, we have a chance to do something special. Let's stay here.
It just, again, it shows you something. But with Buckley, that becomes the question, or how comfortable does Lamont Paris feel in the continued development of coaches of Eddie Shannon and Tanner Bronson?
Well, again, this is a part of the industry. People move on. Obviously, he's done his job here. I'm super familiar with his personal story as to why he would be making that move. But this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to bring somebody else on staff, and with the recruiting going the way it's going, with the momentum for the program being where it is, it shouldn't be that hard to. This might have been a tougher sell 2 years ago to come to South Carolina. Yeah. This is an easier sell. And I'm sure Lamont has some folks in his back pocket that he's always thought of working with, or people he's already considered when this is happening. But that phone call won't be as tough as it would have been last year when he was making that call. So we're in a good spot.
Buckley's a Midwestern guy. He's done 2 stints at Marquette. He's been at Wisconsin in 93, 94, so before Lamont. He's been at Iowa. He's been at Indiana. He's kind of a Midwestern.
You think the Columbia summer just got to him?
Might have. I mean,
I'm not doing another July in Columbia.
In an odd twist of fate, he was the head coach at Ball State, similar to one Pete Limbo, who was that's why I kind of use that as the thing. Now the question becomes, what direction does Lamont Paris go with this? The only concern I have, just because this is now from what's happened in the past, Frank Martin had his really good year, and he lost Matt Figger, who was a big part. He lost Brad Underwood very early on. Darren Horn had his really good year, and he lost kind of his right-hand guy in Scott Cherry to High Point. Lamont Paris, you're right. It's a lot easier to kind of show an up-and-coming program and an energetic fan base who's ready to get involved to a coach. But it's going to be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, I just imagine Lamont could have made this call last year, and his probably good friends in the industry be like, all right, I hear you, Lamont. I hear you. I know you. Yes, I know you.
Let me talk to the wife or his girlfriend, whoever.
Yeah. This year, I think the call's a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, he should do well, but that's something. We will hit a break, come back. We do have an album review we've got to get into, and we'll tell you about that basketball game. We didn't get to that. Spent a little bit too much time talking about Tim Buckley there, but we'll get to that basketball game that I'm really excited about as well. You're listening to the early game. 6:49 as we get you going here on a Thursday morning. 2 more days. Oh, we didn't do that. I'm sorry. I completely screwed that up. 2 more days till the end of today and tomorrow until the end of May, but we got a whole bunch of other countdowns going on.
93 days until Old Dominion, 94 days until the Southern 500s, 50 days until July 16th, which is 3 days before July 19th, in case you were counting, which is
we're going to get more into that coming up.
We will get to that. July 16th for the release of the college football day, 14 days until National Bourbon Day, and I guess 1 day until June.
1 day.
Okay. We're here. We're officially in, not officially according to the calendar and the stars and the sun and all of that, but we are here in season, in summer season.
I feel like the three of us know better about summer than not saying that we're all these geniuses and Mensa's trying to get us to join or anything, but because of the job we do and what time we get up and the fact that we drive in, Preston and I talk about it more because we sit here in the studio and Jen's on the other side of the glass during the break. But when we start really seeing the sun come up during our drive, like as we sit here at 6:50 in the morning and now it's completely bright outside as opposed to February where it's
a lot lighter in the mornings when we're coming in.
like by the time I get on I-20 to come in and like the sun's basically coming up and it's it's beautiful and we're heading I think to June 20th or 21st, which is. Was it the equinox? Is that right? So that's exactly
right.
when it's the. But yeah, so we are more accustomed to that. One other countdown we got going on is Preston Thorne is counting down albums. And yesterday, you went with the other Knowles sister.
Yeah. So we're counting down based on Apple Music. We had 100 days from football, so I decided to collaborate that with the countdown for the top 100 albums of forever right now, based on Apple Music. We are at 93, and now we have Solange, the other Knowles sister, as you stated. Now, the way this is set up is this. Beyonce is the homecoming queen. If this was a teen movie, Beyonce would be the homecoming queen, the one with all the pomp and circumstances, the popular kid. Solange is the kid in the corner of the class drawing in her notebook with bangs over her face, and everybody's like, what's going on with her? And it's like, yeah, that's her big sister. That's my little sister. And then nobody knows they're actually sisters in the school because the popular kid gets all the attention. But Solange is the actual artist, so she's the one who makes the real artsy fartsy music, the real museum mosaic type of things. And so this album, Seat at the Table, is sort of her magnum opus. It came out in 2016. Excellent album. It's a mosaic piece that has interviews with her father, with her mother, all these different folks. It's a really, really cool album. Nothing that you would describe Beyonce as. Beyonce's bombast and everything is sharp and the hair is blowing in the wind and fireworks.
Lights.
Yeah. Solange is in the coffee shop in the corner drawing sketches or something of anime or something. She's the weird sister.
Okay.
She's the weird sister. But like at the end of the teen movie when Beyonce went up there and did her big show at the talent show, and then the mic taps and it's like, and now we have Solange, and everybody's like, I didn't know she actually sang. And she gets up there and she sings a beautiful song, and everybody's like, oh wow, look at her. Nobody knew the ugly duckling came to life. That's who Solange is in the family. But really, really excellent album. If you're into R&B music, I would definitely recommend it. But it's a really, really cool album.
Okay. All right. So worth being on the list, huh?
I mean,
I know it's a subjective
it's a long list. And I mean, we have a long way to go before we get to, I think, what people would consider, seminal albums or quintessential albums. So we're up here high at the list. Yeah, I could see this. I could absolutely see this being somebody's personal favorite album. And I think that's the thing I'm figuring out. This has really been cool for me because the one thing I'm learning about these really cool pieces of work is that they all have a distinctive point of view. Every album that I've listened to, you can see what the artist was trying to do, and they have a distinctive point of view of which they were trying to convey. So it's really, really cool. So that was Beyond Solange at number 93 with a seat at the table. Very, very solid album from the not cool kid of the family.
Okay.
But actually the cool kid. See how that works? She's the not cool kid, but actually she's the real cool kid because she does all the cool kid stuff.
All right. So there you go. And what are we previewing today? What will we be previewing tomorrow?
Tomorrow we will have number 92. Number 92, Tyler the Creator, Flower Boy.
Okay.
Tyler the Creator, Flower Boy. Very interesting album. I'll be back with reports from the front lines tomorrow.
All right, so we'll get into that. Coming up next hour, we'll tell you about that basketball game. South Carolina set to head to Indiana on November the 16th, a little SEC Big Ten showdown. Gamecocks going up to Assembly Hall on November 16th. I mentioned it. I will say there's one thing I don't like about that game. I don't like the date. November 16th is actually a Saturday. It's a little too early in the season for me. And honestly, if you're going to play those really fun non-conference games, and you're going to do it technically during football season on November 16th, you need to do it. You need to do it when there's not a. You need to try and schedule it midweek. That'll be the day that South Carolina plays Missouri in a game that we're all going to be fired up to punch Eli Drinkowitz. So we'll tell you more about that basketball game. Chop Talk also up next. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and his family and the team at Mid-State Roofing, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you with a maintenance contract. You just need to give them a phone call. 803-356-1919 is how you can get in touch with them today. Whether it's high-rises or hospitals, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Blake Leitner, Larry Leitner, the whole Leitner family, they're ready to help you. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919, and help get a maintenance contract that'll protect that roof this coming summer from those summer thunderstorms. Call Mid-State Roofing today. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
I-20 eastbound at Highway 178. That would be exit 39 on I-20 eastbound. There is an accident there. Also, I-20 westbound, Highway 378, disabled vehicle may or may not be impacting traffic flow. Aside from that, no other incidences to let you know about. It's going to be sunny today and tomorrow, 84 both days for the high, 86 on Saturday. Really not seeing a lot of rain in the forecast until maybe about Tuesday. So enjoy all of this while we can. Kind of nice temperatures. 62 on the early game.
Seven a.m. as we get up and get going here on your Thursday morning, getting you ready here for the weekend. Tomorrow, of course, we'll do a lot of South Carolina talk. South Carolina in the Raleigh Regional. Reminder, 1:45 pregame, 2 o'clock first pitch. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game or 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. But we'll get you into a lot of that tomorrow morning. We will wrap things up with Chris Deering from the high school standpoint tomorrow morning. Championships coming to a close. We'll look back on the season that was. But this morning, we'll talk a little Braves right now. It's time for our Chop House Talk segment, sponsored by Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply.
Chop Talk.
Hammered, left field, gone! Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
On the early game is sponsored by Carolina Turf and Grass on the Game Network.
Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply, the official sponsor of Chop Talk, sodding South Carolina 1 square foot at a time. They have all the products you need as we head into summer that'll make that yard looking beautiful, whether it's mulch, soil and sand, gravel, decorative rock or natural stone, pine straw, yard decor. I don't know, but you can call over there and find out. Do either of you two have any yard gnomes in your house, in your yard? Have y'all gotten into that yard gnome collection?
No.
No gnomes. I know what you're talking about, but no, I do not.
Well, you can maybe go get a little Braves one. Get a little Braves
There
one.
you go. I used to have a guard goose.
A guard goose.
It's a it was the thing for quite a while, I think, and
Okay.
they may still be out. But like you could put different outfits on them.
Oh.
So it was basically a concrete goose. In
Yeah.
fact, when I got married, my mom actually put like this little wedding dress thing on the goose, but you did it for all seasons. Kind of like now you put flags out and stuff like that. So yeah.
Alrighty. I do not know, but you can call Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply and see if they have
Guard goose.
a guard goose. 803-446-6525. How you can get in touch with them if you want any sod, Bermuda, Centipede, St. Augustine, or Zoysia. Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply have it. Again, that phone number, 803-446-6525. Let's get you a little audio. It was a rough weekend for the Braves. Let's start. This is Brian Snitker talking about the Ronald Acuna injury that will knock him out for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of knew from, George told me from really the doctor's evaluation, but you never know until you get it looked at. So, and he called last night and, kind of the worst case scenario.
We're going to play some Ozzy Albies here in just a second, too, but you can hear that, Preston Thorne. I mean, this is a blow. You've lost your ace pitcher, Spencer Strider, for the season already. They couldn't even get through almost the first week before losing Strider. Now you lose Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, that was going to be my advanced analytic for today.
Go right ahead.
ACL and UCL, those are my advanced analytics. When those things go wrong, it's not good. ACL for Acuna, UCL for Strider equals not good. I don't know where that is in the advanced analytic playbook, but when those things show up, it's bad.
It's you feel bad for. He wasn't having a good year.
Yeah, he was struggling.
He was
for sure. Struggling in really interesting ways. He was getting picked off the bases. He made a couple of silly errors, so things were not going well. But you were of the belief that was going to change eventually.
Of the belief, and the Braves are kind of scuffling along right now. They're 5-5 in their last 10, 31-22 overall. They've fallen 6 games behind the red-hot Phillies right now. The Phillies 39-18. The Phillies actually, as it currently sits, have the most wins in Major League Baseball. You go up to the American League, the Yankees are 38-19, the Guardians are 37-19, but the Phillies have the absolute best baseball record right now at 39-18, and they're 6-4. They're 6-4 in their last 10. But Preston, real quick, I'm trying to think back during your time if there was an injury like this, or we've seen it with South Carolina football at times where an injury bug strikes, but you lose Strider, your top guy, you lose Acuna Jr., and what that does to a locker room, a dugout, a sideline, how that kind of affects y'all when you see the top guys going down.
Yeah, Shannon Wadley. Shannon Wadley got hurt in the preseason. Forget which year that was, maybe 2001. He got hurt with one of those years, and he got hurt in the preseason basically in a freak injury type of way where, you know, and that's the thing about this particular injury. It was non-contact. Nothing was happening. You don't expect these guys who are so well conditioned to go down like that. But when it happens, it's deflating for the team because you know you're looking out there and you're like, that's our guy. Regardless if he's gotten picked off or made errors, you know that is your dude. You know that he's the best player on the team. And so we can convince ourselves, next man up and blah, 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 blah. But it's hard to replace. Let me see from last year. Let me look at my
40-70.
40-70, yeah. 41-73. That's not coming from anybody that's just signed up. So, yeah, it's difficult when you see that from your best player.
And here is Ozzie Albies, who was very emotional, talking about the injury to Ronald Acuna Jr.
I'm broken, for him to go through this again. I know it's hard. It's not something easy. I've been hurt myself, so I know how it feels like before. So, it's tough. And I know you got to just keep his mind ready and strong and do his rehab so he can be back next year stronger than ever.
Yeah, I go back kind of similar. Now, I was younger. I want to say, and older Gamecock fans can correct me on some of this. I want to say it was about 97 or 98, so you and I. But do you remember linebacker, Florida transfer linebacker, Darren Hambrick?
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. So it was opening. It was a night game, and Darren Hambrick broke his leg, and I think was out for the year. I think he was going into senior season, and I think at that time the defense was built almost strictly around Darren Hambrick. So somebody can go back. I'll never forget it was a night game. I remember sitting in the stands. It was really when I was starting to understand players. I was probably about my 9th or 10th grade year. I was starting to understand the importance of certain players on the team, not just like, oh, Michael Jordan's really good, but I was understanding, again, especially in football, like, oh, you got a middle linebacker that can control the field, and Darren Hambrick, I think, suffered a broken leg and was out for the year. Acuna Jr. brings an energy. He brings something to that lineup that, you're right, nobody else can provide.
Yes, I was thinking about Sidney Rice. But before the Georgia game, he breaks his hand, and then all of a sudden we don't have this guy who we were ready to unleash on the world. He obviously did what he did the next year, but we knew, we got a guy. And when you see him go down, it is deflating. Jake Bentley, that first, the North Carolina game,
yep.
that kind of derailed the whole season, regardless of what people thought they wanted. People were like, oh, we're going to get Ryan Hulinski, who's in a quarterback battle right now. Yeah, when you see that player go down, especially early in the season, and I think we're still in the early-ish part of the Braves season, it is a difficult thing to overrun. They've already kind of trying to overcome Spencer Strider. And so this is another those are the two best players on the team.
It stinks a little bit that it's not even June, and you see what the Phillies are doing, and it feels like Because this is, I mean, it's World Series. I don't want to say World Series or bust, but it is World Series or bust. This isn't a team that's trying to reach the next level. They've won a World Series. They're an expected contender. They were one of the top three in terms of Vegas, top three odds teams to win the World Series this year. And you look at it, and it's kind of like, man, this very well could end up being a lost season with a bunch of young talents that you spent money on.
Yeah, and that's the thing about windows. We talk about championship windows. You know, he's like, oh, we're entering our window. But the thing is, you don't know how long this thing is going to last. Think about NFL football. The Jets had grand plans last year, didn't they? And then 4 games into the season, oh, we're going to be terrible again this year. And the Braves are not in that specific situation. But when you have a window of time, when you feel like, I have the best player in the game, I have the best young pitcher in the game, you have to go out there and win because you don't know what can happen as far as injuries are concerned. And that's where the Braves are. They have to figure out, okay, do we make a drastic trade here and try and recover this year, or do we basically just write this season off as a loss and try and come back stronger next year? So they have some difficult decisions to make in the front office.
I don't know if it's positive news. I don't know how people take it. Last night, one of the top pitching prospects in the Braves organization got his first ever start. I would just be interested maybe later on to get a Kip Balknight in here. Spencer Schwallenbach, I think I'm saying that correctly, made the jump from Double-A to the majors. And got the start last night, lasted 5 innings, threw 88 pitches, gave up 3 runs, 88 pitches, again, 60 of those for strikes. He allowed 5 hits. He struck out 5, and he had a walk. When he left the game, the Braves were trailing 3-1. They ended up losing to the Nationals last night, 7-2. They've got the final game of that series coming up tonight over in Atlanta. The Braves have dropped 2 of 3 so far, again, to the Nationals. Again, just scuffling right now. And the injuries, I think they take a toll on you, especially this early in the season, Preston, when you look around, you think, oh, man, how are we going to get through the rest of the year now at this point? Oakland comes in for a series this coming weekend. Still Oakland A's. So
that's a way to get over it a little bit.
3-game series against Oakland. They will then start a big road trip starting on June 4th that'll last 9 days. They'll go to Boston. They'll have another 4-game set with Washington in Washington starting next Thursday. It'll run through Sunday, and then they make a trip to Baltimore. So you're right, you get Oakland this coming weekend, but I will say Oakland's not just laying down and having their bellies rubbed this year.
They're not the Mets. They're not the worst team in the league.
The A's are 23-24. They're better than the Angels in the AL West.
Well, that's to be expected.
Good point. And just for reference, since we last talked about it, Jen's Chicago Cubs are now 500 on the season, 28-28 on the season, and now 4.5 back of the Milwaukee Brewers, who they are actually in a series with. MLB Network, MLB package, still holding on to it.
Okay.
$29.99 a month or whatever. I didn't buy the whole year package. I wanted to see. I think the whole year package was like $150 or $160. So right now I've spent $90. So I'm still using it, but it might be the right play because I feel like starting in August when football rolls back around, that'll be about the end of that pack. Actually, I've spent $60 so far. This month will be $90.
What does it show up on your billing as? Sports?
I'd have to go back and look. No,
it's so strange. I still don't know what that is.
No. So there's your chop talk segment there. A lot of that focused on the injuries right now to the Braves, and if they can, they're gonna have to gut this one out.
Well,
now.
Bill, here's something that somebody might say. Eternal optimist. You know the last time Ronald Acuna tore his ACL?
They won the World Series. Just saying. Okay, I like the strategy.
All of our goals are still in front of us.
It's only May in baseball. It's only May. We'll continue on. Thank you to Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply, located out on Augusta Highway in Lexington. For all of your turf grass or landscape supply needs, contact Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply, 803-446-6525. Again, that's 803-446-6525. They have a pickup service. They have a delivery service. They even have a garden center out there for those of you who are ready to do some gardening this weekend. Fertilizer, potting soil, insecticides, or pesticides. Get out and visit Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply, again, located out off of Augusta Highway in Lexington. They pride themselves on providing the best in landscape supply in Lexington. For the past 13 years, they have honed and developed a business approach that includes providing a wide array of services with a great attitude. Thank you again to Carolina Turf Grass and Landscape Supply. We'll get into a little football talk. Speaking of which, guess what's occurring at 2:30 today? you might get a grumpy Bill in the morning. I'll tell you about that when we come back. 2:30 today, some big football news. We'll tell you all about it. You're listening to The Early Game. Summer is coming. Well, it used to be, winter's coming, but now summer is coming. And is your house ready? Is your air conditioner ready to battle the evil heat of the summer? Just a year ago, I called Roy and Dana Finley over at AAA Heating and Air, got a brand new air conditioner put in my house, and last summer was absolutely phenomenal. Not only did it save money on cost, but it kept the house nice and cool. And right now, they have a phenomenal deal going on. Not only can you get a free replacement estimate. You can get a free estimate today by calling AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. But you can also take advantage of no payments, no interest until 2025. That's right. No payments, no interest for a whole year. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them you heard it with Bill Gunner on 107.5 The Game, 803-677-1500. Get new comfort in your home as soon as tomorrow with a phone call to AAA Heating and Air today.
We have a report of an accident, Dutch Fork Road near Hiller Road. Also, I-20 eastbound there at exit 39. And aside from that, all else moving along fairly well on your Thursday morning. 84 today and tomorrow under sunny skies. Some clouds start rolling in over the weekend. Highs in the mid to upper 80s. But it's nice right now, kind of mild. 63 on 107.5. The Game.
Shop Talk.
Hammered, left field, gone! Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
On the early game is sponsored by Carolina Turf and Grass on the Game Network.
Coming at 2:30 today. This is according to Brett McMurphy. This is what I saw from Brett McMurphy yesterday on Twitter. I'm sure other people reported as well. SEC spring meetings are taking place down in Destin this week. I actually read a good article last night how it's just totally different. The Alabama head football coach is actually stopping and mingling in the hallway, and it was Pat Forty who basically was like, yeah, Nick Saban did not have time for small talk.
You think? I imagine the air, the feeling, the temperature in the room is a lot lighter when Saban's not there. Everybody's like, Papa Saban's not here. We don't have to watch what I say. I don't have to worry about saying something stupid that he's going to scold me for later. It's a lot lighter in the room.
Yeah, Pat Forty. Let me actually read you the open. This is a very complimentary of South Carolina opening here. It says just walking through the hotel here. They're in Destin. It talks about how different everything is. Just walking through the host hotel here for these meetings, the sights are jarring and intriguing. The football coach in Alabama Crimson Tide gear isn't Nick Saban. Mm-hmm. The Red River rivalry coaches have relocated to the Gulf of Mexico shores. John Calipari is wearing a pullover with a hog on it. Mark Pope replaced him in Lexington, and Dawn Staley is the most accomplished coach of any kind on the premises.
Fair, yeah. When you look at it like that, yeah, absolutely. She might be the matriarch of the SEC now. If you're looking around, thinking about this, where it might have been Saban before, maybe it's Coach Staley. Everybody's like, let me make sure I don't say nothing crazy around Coach Staley.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you what is taking place. By the way, Dawn Staley picking up a transfer yesterday. We'll try and get back into that later from Arkansas.
Definitely want to get back to that.
Okay, we'll get back to that. Good day for her yesterday as well. But coming up at 2:30 today, this is per Brett McMurphy, and again, probably other outlets as well. We will get the first 3 games. So here's one of those days that comes where when it pops up, you're like, all right, it kind of diverts your attention a little bit. You go, oh, that Old Dominion game. Now I can start planning the tailgate. We will learn the game time today at 2:30 for Old Dominion and for South Carolina LSU. We already know the Kentucky game is 3:30 ABC in week 2. We already knew that. But today, 2:30 Eastern time, the announcement will be made. And as I put on Twitter, come on, Nooner. Come on, Nooner. Give me, I feel like I'm at the craps table. Roll me a Nooner.
August 31st, 12
I'm good with it.
Columbia does not feel pleasant.
I'm good. I'm good with it. I am good with it. Get out. Let's do our tailgating early. Let's get into the stadium. Let's do some tailgate. Let's pull for the Gamecocks. I get it. The light show and everything. I know. I got it. I got a million reasons why. I'm only focused on myself here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to. That's Labor Day weekend. Have a fun Friday night. Darius and Hootie are in that, and that's another part. That is, remember, I understand that. Hootie's got the 2-nighter on Thursday and Friday at CLA. You got Tony Annan and South Carolina Clemson soccer
Big weekend.
at Stone Stadium on the 30th. And then, yes, I know the nooner does not suit everybody. It'll probably be a nighter.
Nooner or nighter?
It'll probably be a nighter. I fully expect a 7 o'clock.
Text in 404-6100. Nooner or nighter?
Everybody wants nighter. I
just want to see. Let's just get a sampling. Let's see if Bill's persuading anybody for the nooner. Nooner or nighter?
Oh, no. None of those things I just read off would make anybody would. Full disclosure, I forgot to set my alarm. I told Preston this when I walked in. This is probably the difference, not between a lot of us, but those that get up early. Forgot to set my alarm last night. I had naturally woke up at 5:09. Otherwise, you'd still be doing the show by yourself right now.
It happens.
Jim would be calling like, "Hey, you coming in?" But I naturally wake up at 5:09, no matter what time, or about 5:10, no matter what time I go to bed. And so, with that being said, fine, I'll hit Hootie. I'll hit Hootie on Friday night. I'll be up. I'll be ready to tailgate on Saturday. I'll be ready to go to the game and sweat a little bit. I'll be ready to come back, do a little grilling, and watch some nighttime football.
I just think about the weather concerns. It's going to be hot. 7 o'clock is not going to be better. It's not going to save you. The only thing you won't be saved from is that they won't have the sun beating down on you. But what you will have is just a day's worth of humidity and
But let me ask you this.
Here's
the thing.
Right there.
All of y'all say, I get it. Everybody says Ron, Texter, Curtis, nighter. Now, I get that for the atmosphere the same. But don't give me this BS that it's like you're going to be in the air conditioner at 4 o'clock. Not all of y'all, but see, like, August heat, the vast majority of y'all texting are going to be tailgating under a tent, drinking your beverages in the middle of the heat on August 31st.
Yeah, the tent's not going to save you. The tent won't save you. The earlier tailgating for the nooner would be better conditions than the tailgating times for the nighter, because then that means you're tailgating around 4 o'clock, 4:30, hottest part of the day. 5 o'clock is when it's absolutely brutal outside. You're walking into the stadium, you're sweating. I understand that, but from the aesthetic perspectives, we want the lights and the fireworks and all that, and the light show. Bill, we know how much money we pay for this light show. We got to get this light show in. We have to do this. The LED lights aren't quite as cool at 12 o'clock. It's just something about it doesn't work. You can't black out in sandstorm when it's high noon. It doesn't work quite that way. So there's a lot of, let's say, extraneous cost and considerations that need to be talked about here.
I mean, a lot of y'all that are saying nighter, you're going to show up. By the time you get to the game, you're going to have sweat profusely.
For sure.
All day.
For sure.
You're going to probably smell like beer or liquor, even if you don't drink it, because somebody's going to have spilled it on you.
100%. And it's the first game, so you're not really in your tailgate mode yet. You still got to warm up for the season.
See, that's the other thing. If we just want to go down this path, it's good that you go in, you get your early tailgate in, you go to the game. Yeah, you're going to sweat. You're going to sweat regardless. We're not playing this game in a dome. Mm-hmm. You're not tailgating in a dome. You're going to play this game outside. You're going to sweat regardless. Toughen up a little bit, but you work on your early tailgating skill. Then you come back, and then if you want to tailgate from 4 o'clock to 7, and when it's still hot but have the TV out,
hopefully with a win in your back pocket.
With a win in your back pocket.
And get to watch the rest of the games. Might be something to that. There might be something to that.
Y'all, the people that are telling me nighter, I get the light show. I do totally understand that.
Which is very cool.
Which is a massive. I also like, okay, cool. I've seen it. I've got it. I've seen it. Save it for me for LSU in week 3. Because guess what? The second week in September, not exactly a cooler day than August 31st.
By then, it'll be a lot cooler.
Yeah.
No, it won't. It won't be.
Like, give me that night game against LSU with sandstorm, with everything then. But, yeah. And Alan says, Bill, are you saying you're getting old and can't go all day? Alan reads between the lines as well as anybody. Yes. Yes.
Also, we got to think about the kids, man. We got to think about the kids. I think, Bill, I might be coming around on your side. For the kids' safety, we need a nooner so that they don't have to try and figure out the things that they will eventually figure out as young college students. 7 o'clock game is rough for like a young college student. So maybe we do need to ease them into this with a nooner.
Let them. They're they've only been in college for a few weeks. These freshmen and some of the sophomores.
And while the old people can't go all day, the fortunate problem with young people is that they think they can, and some of them are going to find out some harsh realities on that first tailgate.
All I'm going to say, I don't expect it to be a noon game. By the way, I don't expect it to be a noon game. But I will say, if it is a noon game, 2:30 today, keep an eye on Twitter. They'll put out, I'm sure, Brett McMurphy or SEC Network. They will announce the first 3 games. But if it is a nooner, y'all are going to hate me tomorrow because I'm going to be in such a good mood. Such a good mood. 803-404-6100. We'll talk a little bit about football attrition and looking back at that 2020 recruiting class, something we kind of did yesterday. We'll actually talk about the game, not just about us tailgating. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's an early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you. They will come at noon, Bill. They will come at night, Bill. They will come out there and take care of it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Dutch Fork Highway near Hiller Road, there is an accident there. Also still reporting I-20 eastbound at Highway 178. That would be also known as Exit 39 on I-20 eastbound. And that forecast looking so nice. We're looking for a high today of 84. Same tomorrow. Clouds come in 86 on Saturday, 85 on Sunday. Really not seeing any rain activity until about Tuesday. But it's warming up, and the sun is out 63, 107.5 The Game.
$7:35 as we roll along. We're we got a demographic. We got a demographic here on this show. And I tell you what, the noon game versus night game, not the middle of the day game, but just going strictly noon.
No, we get that out of here.
Strictly the noon versus the night draws the strong responses.
Nooner or nighter.
And it draws a couple hot takes. Like I didn't see this one coming. I didn't see this one coming. Noon takes game day watching away, which I assume he means the ESPN, or if you're now into the Fox show. I feel like I'm in the minority on this when it comes to game day. Now, I've said I don't watch it for 3 straight hours. When it comes on, I catch whatever the awful new song they've put on. Not a fan of that, but all right. But I have it on in the background. But I don't go out of my way to watch it. Somehow, some way, it does happen each and every Saturday that I end up the 5 minutes I watch was the tear-jerking, that Tom Rinaldi?
Tom Rinaldi.
Where it was I'd end up crying.
Like, get out of here, Tom. I'm not ready for this. It's Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing?
10:15, and I've gone through the full range of emotions.
You hear the piano drop, and you're like, oh, man, here we go.
I mean, without fail, I end up in front of a TV somehow when that comes on. But no, a lot of you people,
But with the introduction of Saban this year, there's going to be some new blood. Might be a new thing this year. So what that texter was saying was that they're against noon games because they can't watch games.
Which again, the tailgate setup. You're doing it at your tailgate, and then I got another texter, nooner, and I'm with this, but would prefer. And it says every game, but I think they mean, well, maybe they go every game, but I would actually now that we've gone almost a decade without it, ready to go back to the Thursday night season openers. Kind of ready to go back to that. It says nooner, but would prefer every game be on Thursday so I can enjoy the weekend.
Also, there's the idea of the nooner game. You get it out the way. Win, lose, draw. You can move on with your day.
Get done.
Preferably win.
And I'm not trying to recover on Sunday morning.
That's another part.
And then Brad weighs in. Nighter. If it's a nooner, I hope Gunner's car breaks down on the way to the stadium. We got that. It keeps sending those. Yeah, you guys. I got a couple who are with me on the nooners, though. I got a couple who are allowing that there with me. 803-404-6100. You've got some stats. There's a 2020 class we got into a little bit the other day, but you got some attrition numbers that you thought were interesting.
Yeah, we just was looking at yesterday. We was looking at re-ranking the 2020 class, and for all of the negative feelings towards Will Muschamp, he still has had an imprint on this program even moving forward. So when you talk about the players that were part of that class, Marshawn Lloyd, Jordan Birch, Tonka Hemingway,
Alex Huntley,
Jaheim Bell. These are names that still have been coming out, even though he's been long since gone.
Rashad Amos.
Which I have to put that on the docket because you have to spend 2 segments on that.
Okay, all right.
So a lot of these guys come, but what this article does, and it's in the Athletics, it's a really interesting article, is re-ranking the top recruiting classes from 2020, and obviously the schools that you would expect to be there. Georgia's number 1. They were number 1. They are number 1, which, by the way, no active coach in the SEC had a win over that 2020 class. The only person that beat the 2020 class was Nick Saban and Dan Mullen. That's an aside.
That is in this article. There's a really good article on Pat Forty about the upcoming season, and it does talk about how Kirby Smart has kind of taken the Nick Saban mantle and is now the dean. It says, think of it this way. The only 2 games Georgia has lost in the past 3 seasons were to Saban, and he's not around anymore. None of the SEC coaches who defeated Smart from 2017 to 2023 are still coaching in the league. Saban did it 5 times. Ed Orgeron did it twice. Dan Mullen, Gus Malzahn, and William Muschamp.
There you go. So these guys did have some sort of success against them, but the Georgia team was obviously there. But yesterday when we started talking about all these players, we started talking about Jaheim Bell, he transferred. Jordan Burch, he transferred. Marshawn Lloyd, he transferred. These guys that were coming in and out of the program. It started to feel like, oh, well, what was wrong with South Carolina? And through looking at this article, what it showed was that really there's nothing. It's always this concept of this idea of the attrition rates of recruiting classes. Regardless of who, what, before, after the transfer portal, there were going to be guys that came in and stayed and guys that came in and left for various reasons. Now we're more aware of the transfer portal, but there were always reasons why people were leaving. So the 2020 class, the attrition rate was a 52%, right? So 50% of the class stayed, 50% of the class moved on for one reason or another. That sounds, you don't know how that sounds because you don't have the context for that. But it's right in line with all of these other programs. Alabama had 62% attrition rate. Michigan had a 61% attrition rate. Clemson, 54% attrition rate, so a little bit higher. TCU, had a national championship run.
Wait, did you say Clemson had a 54% attrition rate? You mean transfers?
Attrition rate. They did not finish with the class they started with for various reasons. They could have transferred. They could have left school
To go to the NFL? Because
there could have been reasons. There are various
all right,
reasons
so
why. I get where you're going. I get where you're going.
Just going to say, because I thought no one transferred from Clemson.
I get where you're going.
No one left those hills.
Notre Dame, 59%. LSU, 68%. Texas, 64%. So all I'm saying is, as much as sometimes things feel like they're just happening to us here, this is a story of college football. It's not a thing that is unique to South Carolina as far as guys either transferring or not panning out or not finishing with the recruiting class that they started. This is a natural thing in college football.
We'll push back on that, though. Here's the thing. At South Carolina, when you land these elite prospects, they have to pan out right now.
Good point.
At Alabama, at LSU, when you lose guys, and that happens. You're restocking with elite guys. When a Jordan Burch transfers, and say what you want about his production, but he was a 5-star prospect, and he was a good player. Was he a 5-star player? Well, we're not going to go down that path. Marshawn Lloyd was a good player. Was he a great player? Well, again, I'm not going to, but that's 2 major losses. Another elite prospect in that 2020 class, Mo Kaba, has dealt with injuries. Eric Shaw was a top, according to 24/7 Sports, was a top 107 player. He's number 107 in the nation. He was expected to help. He's not panned. He transferred. That's 3 of your top prospects that transferred, and 2 of them actually really helped. I got to go back and see where Eric Shaw ended up and what he's done, by the way. Luke Doty, say what you want. He's still here, and he's trying to help, but Luke Doty has not panned out in the manner that we thought he would. Alex Hunley's been good. Trey Jones was a 4-star top 250 offensive lineman. Again, you talk about attrition, didn't quite pan out because of injuries. Jakari Caldwell was a wide receiver that ended up being a 4-star that I don't know if ever played a snap. Rico Powers was a 4-star that was expected to help at wide receiver. I don't know if he ever played more than 10 snaps. Jaheim Bell, 4-star. Again, you got stuff out of him, but he transferred out. That to me is the difference. When you get to South Carolina, your top prospects have to make it.
Because there's less margin of error.
So much less margin of error. And look, I get it. I'll say again, I got it. I understand. Pup Howard did not have the best year last year, and there are questions about maybe what could have he done this position? Should have he maybe been moved to end? Doesn't matter. He was a freshman, and he was a top prospect. You can't have, for South Carolina, you can't have that kind of attrition. And that's another part. You look at this class that just comes in, and it's like looking at a guy like Dylan Stewart and going, well, that's great. We have to hold on to him. We have to get the most of him. Nick Harbor, he's a 5. You got to get the most out of him. Your elite prospects have to be elite right now at the University of South Carolina. At Alabama, at LSU, at Georgia, when an elite Preston when an elite player.
I like that sound.
Thank you. You like that? Yeah?
I like the way that sounds.
When an elite player doesn't pan out, they just go, okay, we got the next guy behind you.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. You're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense, and that's why there's always context. There's always context to numbers and how that particularly works. But I just thought it was interesting how sometimes we think things are happening to only us, and they're happening around the country as well.
We'll continue on. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. Summer is nearly here, and that's going to mean those pop-up thunderstorms, those bad summer thunderstorms that bring high winds, they bring hail, they bring heavy rain. It can really have an impact on your roof. And are you prepared for it? Have you even thought about it? If not, today is the day. You need to give it just a little bit of thought and contact Mid-State Roofing. They're ready to help you with a maintenance contract 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing is there to make sure your operation stays dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. You can also visit them online, midstateroofing.com. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee who will help put you in a maintenance contract. So don't wait another day. Make the phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. It's working, Preston. It's working. Sam weighs in. Bill, I think you have talked me into this noon game time.
Okay.
Steve out in Blythewood, you got a point. This is part of it, but typically the noon games, you're gonna get one or two. You're gonna run into one or two. But he goes noon or night. Another factor is the schedule of other great matchups. Well, again, typically most, not all, Fox is pushing against the grain on this, but not all. Start from 3:30 on. And I got to admit, I do enjoy being home with my grill, having watched a South Carolina football game there.
South Carolina win.
So that is true. Yeah, but even I got to admit, even in a South Carolina loss, being back home,
that's true,
in time to like maybe eat a little comfort food, not be angry, blood pressure issues at 8 o'clock or at 8:30. It's kind of nice. I kind of calm down a little bit. It's not so much fun sometimes sitting there watching the highlights from your game earlier in the day, but I'm going to push for it. I'm going to push for it. It's another one. Alan says, no, Alan, now, Alan, I understand where he's going. He says, what you guys don't realize yet, you will in 20 years, is that you don't have to suffer in the heat anymore. If you don't want to, don't go for a football game. Well, that's true, but now you're just taking the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Now you're just taking.
But I hear you.
And I've got
this coming from the guy who sits in air conditioning half the time during a game.
Again, it's been pretty clear. There's about 77,812 of y'all I'm not necessarily concerned about. I'm concerned about me, my son, my 72-year-old father. Worry about us. Worry about us. I think I've converted Justin. Noon for ODU, 7 for LSU. Breakfast food underrated at tailgates, and I agree with that. I agree with when we get that. When we get there, we'll do that. 803-404-6100. So that's interesting on attrition. And I brought up the fact that South Carolina cannot lose. Attrition's one thing that's going to happen, but you typically want it to be at the bottom of your class. Guys that were developmental prospects that aren't necessarily developing, not at the elite prospects. And Preston, as you brought this up, I glanced at something. These guys were freshmen last year. This class, just to be clear, this class that is committing now is the 2025 class. Yeah, I know. 2025 class, because they're enrolled. They'll be here for 2025. The class that just signed that is enrolling now, Jalua Solomon, Dylan Stewart, that's 2024 class. So what I'm going to read to you is the 2023 class that we all really liked, right? 2023 class. Your top 4 prospects. Nick Harbor. What do we think about him right now? He's here. Desmond Umizulu. Okay, he's still here and hopefully contributes this year. Prospect number 3 in that class, Grayson Howard.
No longer with us.
Prospect number 4 in that class, Xavier McLeod.
Attrition.
Your top 4 prospects right there in that class. One of them was a 5-star. One of the next 3 were all top 120 prospects. I don't know what we're getting from Nick Harbor. Maybe he surprises us. Oh, he's doing phenomenal in track. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. He's living up to 5-star status in track without a question.
For sure.
But you already lost 2 of your top 4 prospects in that class that you needed to contribute. And I'll take it a step further. You still have Vakari Swain, Marquis Anderson, Tree Babalade was really good last year. Jalen Kilgore, Elijah Davis has got to step up. But if you do the top 12 prospects in this class, it rounds out at Kelton Henderson. He's gone. Montague Rames didn't make it in even through the spring semester. You have had 4 transfers out of your top 12 prospects, and your fifth player in Nick Harbor right now, I don't know what you're going to get from him. And that's 5 out of your top 12 prospects in the 2023 class that will be going into their sophomore year.
I'm looking at this because they have a system that that we can look at and sort of go through and grade the recruiting class as it is now, and it awards points for basically what they've done or what they will contribute to do. But basically, as you're saying, you lose all those guys to attrition so early, and then guys don't pan out as it naturally does. What you hope for is that there are guys who you didn't expect end up overperforming. We'll see what that happens.
Of those top 12, by the way, Lenora Sellers was not in that group. I mean, this is just rankings. It's rankings. Take it for what it's worth. It can mean nothing. Trovon Ball was not in that top 12, and he's a guy that is expected to maybe contribute. contribute heavily on that offensive line. So as you just said, there are guys in that class that you go like, all right, hopefully they step up. Judge Collier was way down the list and is fighting for a starting position this coming season. But I'm just saying, when you're South Carolina and you land these elite prospects, Harbor, Howard, McLeod, you've got two of them that are no longer even on campus after year one. And I don't, attitudes or whatever, not being good. That's where attrition can affect you. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Ooh, a video game is out. Well, it's coming. It's coming. We'll talk about it.
On the way. 16 days.
Earlier. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Now is the time of year as we almost head into June. We're getting to the halfway point of the year. You start thinking about what you're going to do the back half of the year. Maybe you're thinking about moving. Maybe you have found that prime real estate and you're thinking about building on it. Well, the first thing you need to do is contact Jacob Crowder and see what some of your options are for getting that big loan. And with First Palmetto Bank, who's locally owned and operated, they have quick and precise underwriting because of local decision makers. So call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. That's exactly what I did about 4 years ago, and he helped get a great interest rate and a great plan locked in. You want to do the same. So if the new year's brought some change and you're looking at building or buying, moving into the back half of the year, contact the Mortgage Guru today, just like I did, 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
And taking a peek at those traffic conditions out there this morning, they're pretty decent, but we do have a couple things to remind you about. Spruce Creek Church Road near I-20, and that accident I-26 eastbound at exit 39 in the cleanup stages. Also reminding you of Dutch Fork Road near Hiller Road. And I'll tell you what, that forecast, we're just loving it right now. 84 today and tomorrow under sunny skies. Few clouds rolling in for the weekend, 86, 85, somewhere in there, up to 87 on Monday. Maybe some rain possibilities starting on Tuesday. But right now, it's sunny and 64 on 107.5 The Game.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning, just kind of resetting what we've been talking about, getting you ready a little bit for the Raleigh Regional starting tomorrow. You'll hear it right here on 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. 2 o'clock first pitch, 1:45 pregame. We'll do a lot of talking, obviously, about that tomorrow, but we have talked a little bit about that today, and if we have time this hour, we'll try and bring you a little bit more of what Mark Etheridge and Connor Bergen said yesterday on the halftime show as it pertains to James Madison and the regional itself. If not, we'll save that for a little bit more tomorrow, but we have discussed that. Did a little Braves talk. Braves scuffling, Preston, just scuffling, 5-5 in their last 10. Ronald Acuna injury, just it feels like that was the gut punch right now to a team that's they're 6 behind the Phillies. They can get hot. They're still ultra talented.
See, that's the thing. They're playing decently. I mean, throughout the course of the whole season, it's just that the Phillies are on fire right now, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be stopping anytime soon.
Marcell Ozuna is having a monster year. 16 home runs now, batting 308, 49 RBIs, on-base percentage of 388. He leads the team in every batting category, by the way. 60 hits, on-base percentage, RBIs, home runs, batting average. Marcell Ozuna is absolutely unstoppable. You're not getting a whole lot from Matt Olson right now, who's batting 237. Austin Riley's not giving you a great deal either. He's batting 233. Acuna Jr. really was struggling. 250 was what he's batting, but he led the team. He had more than double the next closest person with steals with 16. Michael Harris had 8.
Well, that was all the good news. All that was good news because you were thinking, okay, if we're playing this well and we lost Spencer Strider and things are not going as well as we would think on the offensive side of the ball, and we're still in the race, you were assuming that all these guys' bats would pick up eventually throughout the season and, you would get course corrected. And now there's a big dent in that plan right now.
Yeah. Pitching wise, again, Max Fried and Chris Sale are
they're throwing well.
They're holding it together. Chris Sale's unstoppable right now, 8-1 on the season for him. He's been fantastic at 2.12 ERA. Max Fried had another really good outing the other night. Really, we'll get into it maybe later. I'm not going to do it right now. I was watching the Cubs and the Brewers last night, and they were talking about what we've been talking. Maybe the Cubs and the Brewers. It was actually the Cubs broadcast. So maybe they've been listening here to listen to Jen. They want to listen to a native Chicago person, but they were talking about the lack of complete games and the pitch counts, and saying that more and more of these ball clubs are thinking about going to a 6-man rotation to give an extra day of rest, which might allow a guy like a Max Fried to finish some of these games that he's being pulled out in the 8th with a 2-0 lead, as he only has 2 complete games on the season and really could have picked up a third earlier this week in a win over the Nationals.
Yeah, I guess it allows you an extra day of rest, but I don't know if that makes up for the acute amount of rest that you need on that. Like, can you make it through this day? It might be better for the overall health of the season-wise, but when it comes in the 8th inning, they have to decide whether or not we want to give them the ball or not, or if you have a closer that you feel like is more effective to coming in and finishing the game up. So it is something that we've poked fun at and we've looked at it and we've talked about, but it is something that baseball is trying to figure out because there's an epidemic of arm injuries as the Braves have unfortunately faced throughout this year.
I mean, some of it is guys are working out more and more, and the velocity is up, the arm speed is there's just so many things that have changed even from when Bob Gibson and Steve Carlton were throwing, as Mark Kingston mentioned yesterday. We'll continue on with that. Football news, we got into a little bit of that last hour. Coming up today at 2:30, it's SEC spring meetings down at Destin, and they will release the game times for the first 3 games for every SEC team of the season. We already know a bunch of those. For South Carolina, we know 3:30. For Kentucky, we will get the opener that we are how many days away from?
We are, let me get my convenient list up here, 93 days away.
One less than Preston Thorne. 94 was the big Preston Thorne day.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Old Tommy Moody, the old jersey. You would have 94. Big Preston Thorne.
I missed it. I missed it again. I forgot what number I wore. That's pretty interesting. But yes, 93 days.
93 days away.
Which, by the way, I did not choose 94. I was given 94.
You didn't have much of an option, huh?
No.
It was big. Oh, 94. Okay. Well, thank you for giving me a jersey.
There you go. Here you go. Here's yours, sir.
But 93 days away. But we'll learn that game time for Old Dominion. We already know the Kentucky game's 3:30 on ABC, and LSU will learn that game time 2:30 today out of Destin. And we talked a little basketball. We'll get back into that. Preston wants to get into a little bit of the transfer that Dawn Staley picked up yesterday from Arkansas. The men's side of things saw the Tim Buckley, assistant coach, leave for Cincinnati, but a really fun non-conference game against Indiana get announced there for South Carolina. So that's kind of the news from today as we continue our countdowns. And one of the other countdowns we have going on, initially we started on July 19th, but upon being badgered by my son, Austin, that countdown got moved up to July 16th, and that is the day. And this is growing. This hype is growing. I don't know how grown 40-year-old men feel. I'm back and forth on it because I know that I'm going to have a hard time getting on the sticks because my son is going to always be there. But July 16th, if you pre-order NCAA Football 25, you get it on July 16th. I think we did that in the Madden bundle. Preston, there was a lot of information that started really rolling out yesterday.
All of it started trickling in by what I guess is, I don't know if he's become the foremost reporter on EA Sports, but Matt Brown at Extra Points, he does a great job on Twitter. If you're interested in following college football, is really interested in seeing what he says. But he was on yesterday with our fellas on Gamecock Central talking about what he's found out about the game, and it's really interesting because we almost had this dude is the industry leader in what everybody's saying, and he was here on 107.5 talking to our fellas. So there is a lot of things that are happening with this game, and I think I want to start with this. I want to start with Jen. I want to start with clip 13 because he talks about this idea of the attention to detail that they paid in this game, and I don't know when it's going to be happening or when this game is going to be starting, but I'm starting to wonder if it's too much detail for our people in our demo. Here's Matt talking about the attention to detail.
I will say, though, from all the other schools that I saw, which included big schools and small schools, the attention to detail for stadiums and in-game presentation is insane. You will be able to see not just, okay, this is the music we play coming into the game, and this is the inside of our locker room, and here's the sound effects we play on penalties and on third downs. You'll be able to see where in the stadium they put the opposing team's band, where on the sidelines each cheerleading squad is. They mapped out every seat in the stadium. That level of granular detail really pops.
I will say, obviously, it's only been 10 years. It's only been 10 years, and a lot changes in 10 years. Technology and 3D rendering and all those things in 10 years, Preston, is impressive, and it feels like, this next year when this game comes out, it won't be as spectacular and as exciting, but they've had 10 years to change the engines on these things, the models. We've seen it with Madden, but some people don't get Madden. It's supposed to be very spectacular, the way the presentation, because that's the great thing about college football. Lambeau's really cool. I guess Jerry World's kind of cool, but
the NFL is designed to be uniform and the
generic.
Same thing. It's designed. The no fun league. That's what it's designed to be.
But college, half of it is going to another stadium and experiencing the vibe and the technology that they have to create these games allows them to do a lot more these days.
Yeah, there's going to be everything. All these, no detail was left unturned, unstoned from what they were trying to do with these games. And all I'm saying is, how much is too much? I'm getting here early. I just want to let everybody know that if you think you're just going to turn this game on and just fire up the old PlayStation 2 and play some college football, I got a feeling that there's going to be a lot more to this game. I mean, from the details that I heard yesterday, my head was spinning already. There's fatigue meters, not just guys get tired. But see, you're thinking oh, yeah, if I use a guy a lot. But no, this is based on how many times they get hit, and it affects the games. Delay of game penalties based on the crowd noise. I don't know if I'm here for all for it. I don't know if I'm here for all that. I don't know if I'm here for that. But the game is coming. It is building momentum. This has been 2 years in the making. And I would like to say that Matt Brown, who is the leading expert in this area, he has been on 107.5 a couple of times, and he is very familiar with South Carolina. So we're going to have to try and make sure we keep him in the fold.
Jen, let's get his overall impression. This is clip number 10 from yesterday. This is Matt Brown's overall impression from playing the game. A bunch of them were invited down to Orlando. They played for about 3 or 4 hours. Here's what Matt Brown had to say about his overall impression.
I would definitely say it's fundamentally different from Madden. Which I know has been a major. I got to play the new Madden game there too. It's been a major, concern I think from a lot of consumers. Part of they are built with the same engine, but the animations are different, the physics are different, some of the features are different, and the gameplay itself is different. And it's also, I would say, fundamentally different from NCAA 14. My very early impression was. I'm going to have to relearn how to play this game a little bit, right? Because some of the kind of more cheesy ways to exploit NCAA 14 or the ways that I think we would typically play college football video games are not going to be as effective in this game. There's a really, I think, very different passing system where passing angle and pass velocity and being able to kind of layer the ball through coverage is going to be much more important than just like scrambling out of the pocket and rifling something across the field or down the field. And there's how you play is going to be different. Like I think a lot of people last time would say, okay, like the way to play is to run an option offense or to do 4 verts every time here. And who your personnel and your playbook and your play style and what your opponent's doing, it's going to matter a lot more. There's going to be a lot more flexibility, I think, in this edition.
Preston, Preston's got an old man rant. He is ready to go. But I have to tell you, having a 12-year-old son and watching him play games, Preston, from the last time you and I really played video games, it is a different era of new. We had our own video game leagues, right? Mm-hmm. Like around the dorm, mm-hmm. You might have the dynasties and seasons, and you'd wander over to somebody's dorm to play your game, whatever you had to do. Remember, it's a sport now. It's an e-sport. There's a different level of play. I don't want to tell you might be too old for this now.
You can tell me. I'm fine with it.
Because I feel like you want to be the guy who just puts old Charles Rogers from Michigan State at quarterback because he got 99 speed, and you just roll out, and either the defense is there and you just chunk it downfield to another guy, or he just runs for a touchdown all the way through the defense.
The play that's guaranteed to work. You roll the quarterback out, the linebacker sitting in the flats. If he comes to you, you throw it over his head. If he follows him, you run past him.
Yeah.
What happened to that? This guy's talking about launch angles, velocity, layering balls through. I don't want to do all that. I want to play a video game, sir.
I will tell you, and I've played enough Madden against my son.
See, you're still in the game.
I have enough knowledge to be deadly, but I also now have a life to where I can't dedicate. I mean, I guess I could. I guess I could get done with the show and go dedicate 8 hours to just playing video games, but we'll continue talking about that, get you some more audio from that. Also get back into a little bit of basketball from yesterday from the standpoint there was a transfer that was received by Dawn Staley. We'll let Preston talk a little bit about that and get into, again, that South Carolina-Indiana basketball game I'm excited for. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner. She's Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Integrated Media. Look, we've been talking about this video game. It's coming very fast. And why would it not benefit you to have your whole system set up with our friends at Integrated Media? You can get your outdoors ready for spring and summer. The summer is here, and it's time to get it ready. With all the new music they have playing in the games and all the sounds, and why wouldn't you have your Samsung Terrace TVs? Why wouldn't you have Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music? Why wouldn't you have Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors? Bill, when I last stopped playing video games, they didn't even have Wi-Fi, so I don't know what's going on with this. Anyway, you can control all your devices from just one remote, and from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327, or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
And out there on the highways this morning, they're working an accident, Spears Creek Church Road near I-20. Also, Highway 1 near Grampian Hills Road. That's at North Grampian Hills Road. And still getting things taken care of, Dutch Fork Road near Hiller Road. Beautiful outside and really going to enjoy the temperatures for the next few days. Looking for a high of 84 under sunny skies. That's today and tomorrow. Maybe a few more clouds over the weekend. Highs still in the mid-80s. And temperatures warm up a little bit as we get into the work week, but looking for maybe some afternoon thunderstorms starting on Tuesday. But again, warming up nicely right now. A little breezy, sunny, 68 on 107.5 The Game.
8:20 as we roll along here on a Thursday morning. Sammy weighs in, says, I'm on Team Preston here with the old man rant. Video games went out with middle school for me. Nothing stunk more than having to sit around a dorm or apartment and watch the roommates play video games and the good TV.
Good point. Good point. They take up the good TV for the video games, and you're stuck in some side room trying to actually watch something.
I can't imagine having the time as an adult. I've got a lot going on. Like, for me, I hear people talking about binging movies or, TV series. I don't think I sit down an hour during prime time to even sit and watch anything. And if I do, I'm probably folding clothes. I'm, moving things around. I'm doing other business. Like, I can't process just being able to.
That's the thing about video games. You have to actually be there, right?
I can't speak to everybody else. I will tell you that for me, it's spending time with my son. Like, I can't tell you the last time I went in by myself. I openly will say I have zero clue. Old man here has zero clue how to, like, go in, get on the internet, and, like, if one of my buddies was playing and figure, do the thing.
Yeah.
But
and I get it. We're doing it with your son because it is an activity with your kids. So you figure out to make that time.
That's
Yep.
That's a little bit different. And what's funny is I remember back in the day when my dad would try to play with me and I'd just beat him and be like, how does he not know what to do? How is this so difficult for him? And now I'm like, oh, man.
There you are.
Although I'm still, because we grew up playing it, I'm still savvy enough that once I get a little the hang of a couple things. But
I'll admit, when I, Mario Brothers years ago, I, had just moved down here, had an apartment, didn't have kids, didn't have a dog, had the job. And yeah, I would stay up late and I did save the princess. I did master the one game. Yeah. But that's the only game I think I played. And then it was like, well, now what? Because I won. So.
But now we're in the 8 o'clock hour, so I think I can admit this. I will say I didn't locate. During COVID, I bought a Nintendo. I went and bought the old school, not the one that's got all the games. I bought the old school Nintendo. I've got a couple of the Marios. I got the Mike Tyson's Punch Out, because they had just Punch Out, but I got Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I got RBI Baseball. And occasionally, during the summer like this, people come over. We'll hook that thing up. If you're having a little party, you play Mario, and
that's fun.
If you run out of your lives, you might have to take a shot or something. You might have to, or if you die, and it makes fun because it is Mario's one that's generation. Now the kids today are like, what is this? This guy's. What are these pixels?
Pixels.
They never understand how fascinating it was when Mario could fly. I was like, oh
you got
my
the squirrel costume?
What in the world is happening? We'll never advance technology past this. We've reached the end.
Yes.
Mario's flying.
That's pretty amazing.
And there was always the odd second Mario, I think, like the one that was completely out of road, like where he goes to the desert and there's all kinds of odd little things. But yeah, that's how I play video games. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I sat down and was like, all right, here goes a Saturday or here goes a night.
And I'm certainly not being, I will say, I'm not being critical of anybody who does that, because if they do it and they enjoy it, that's great. Everybody has hobbies and stuff. But I think about but also I think maybe I just need to learn to sit down and relax.
Yeah, that you do.
Might be an issue.
That might be something too.
Might be a me thing.
803-404.
But how are you going to be relaxing when you're worried about passing velocity angles and you're trying to layer in balls into the defensive? That's not relaxing. That's stressful.
I woke up last night thinking about it.
That's more stressful.
I will say with video games, and what I will probably do with this and play, and I'll probably will play is I am the nerd that doesn't play a single game. But I do the Dynasty, or like what Austin and I do is we get especially with the NBA, and we run the Dynasty, and I'm like the GM or whatever, where I've got to manage that's fun to me, because that was something in hindsight, like if I knew what I knew now, probably would have paid better attention in accounting or math or study more and be like, it's a business. That's a business. That's just not for athletes. I can go into a...
Yeah, kids do the math a little bit more, because I chose that route in college. There was the one math class that you had to take, because fine arts major, That's what broadcasting was. And so we called it Math for Morons, because it was a really low-level math class, and that's all I did. And I do look back and think, yeah, I could have done better about that. That would serve me well.
I do legitimately wonder, because I've done it, like I said, I've played with Austin. I've seen how these like NBA and NFL, how you have to do the salary caps and the picks. If we're about to have a generation of like uber smart owners who know how to handle salary caps and everything, because when we
Because
play
of video games.
Yeah, because I mean there
Isn't that
is
crazy?
a math element like with NBA, whatever it is we play, whatever one. I have to know all about bird rights. I got to figure out the bird. And am I going to structure a contract with 5% at the front of the contract? 5%? Like, it is crazy, like, what these kids are playing in terms that there's going to be a select few that figure out, that know exactly how to run a NBA or NHL or MLS or NFL franchise strictly without being able to throw a football from me to you or baseball, who are going to know exactly what they're doing and be like, all right, here, Moneyball. That's exactly what it's going to be like. Oh, here's the analytics, and here's how we spend the money, and here's how we figure everything out, all because of playing games now where you actually have to financially be smart about how you build your roster. It's a crazy concept.
On the way. It's here, probably. It's here.
You know what? We'll take a break. We lost that segment.
It's fine. College football's coming. It's back. It's going to sell a trillion copies, and everybody will be talking
I'm sorry,
about it.
a trillion?
Trillion.
I love that number. Trillion.
Dude, it is going to be crazy what this number, any child who has any kind of, that loves video games and has any kind of affinity for college football, just go ahead, put $20 away for the next 4 weeks, basically, because Preston and I just said, I think I got the pre-ordered copy, but I also got Madden. It was like $150 for both. And so just for both. But if you just want college football, $20 over the next few weeks. Just tell them they're going to have to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich while home instead of maybe the chicken nuggets, heated up chicken nuggets. 803-404-6100. We said we would talk some basketball. We will actually do that when we come back. You're listening to the early game. All right, actually coming up next, we will talk with Josh Harris, our Darlington Raceway president. We'll catch up with him and talk a little bit about what's going on in Darlington, some big news, much like the big news of a great cleaning company, Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. They're ready to help you. The cleaning pros at Zerorez, they're ready to make sure your summer is beautiful and clean, and that allows you the time to play video games. Let's be honest. We all want to be playing video games. We don't want to be mopping the floors or vacuuming the rug. Call Zerorez with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to clean better than detergents, and you can take advantage of a great deal right now. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $129. Book online, ZerorezColumbia.com, or give them a phone call, 803-262-4020. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $129. So give Zerorez a call or book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Fairmont Drive at Leesburg Road, an accident there. Also, Highway 1 at North Grampian Hills Road. Also, Highway 1 near Clemson Road. And still getting things cleaned up. Spears Creek Church Road near I-20. Beautiful day on tap. 84 for the high today and tomorrow. 86 on Saturday with some clouds rolling in this weekend and kind of staying in the mid-80s. But it's breezy. 68 right now on the early game. Not really a sound effect that I can play here, like, no, and the winner is, don't really have that right now.
It was a really good sound effect, though.
I thought it was kind of impressive.
It's pretty good. It's not bad.
Before the...
Let's get one more of those.
No.
Yeah, that was good.
No.
So it happens when you go to the Indy 500, Josh Harris. You go to Darlington one weekend, you go to Indy 500 another. A month of racing, and Jen knows exactly how to sound like a race car.
That's right. Jen, you heading over to F1 race next just to wrap up all three?
I should. I'd be okay with flying to Monaco, for a race.
Oh, my goodness. I have gone down a path real quick, totally accidentally, on Instagram of things that were happening in Monaco with boats pulling up and cars. And, I knew it was I knew it was
a luxury event.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I saw Conor McGregor's Lamborghini yacht. Josh, can we build a port into Darlington?
There's a pond.
I was about to say there's a pond in the back.
We've got a pond. But what's funny is not funny, but just interesting on that is in Miami, the first year of the F1 race down there, it's not at the beach. It's where the Dolphins play, and they've turned that into quite a complex. But they had yachts put around the course, but they were not actually in water. It was just pulled up on trailers, and they had this little platform built to look like water. So
that's funny.
We got a pond, or we could do something more, extravagant like that.
I'm thinking I think there's some exciting things. We've just given you a job there, Josh. Mm-hmm.
We'll go to work on it.
I think this is where we cue Chevy Chase, who says, "I've got a pond. A pond's good for you," to Bill Murray in Caddyshack. There's a lot to get to this week before we make our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge picks. Let's start. I don't know where to start. I really probably should have asked Jen to kind of control this a little bit more because of so many things to get to. I was going to start with the big news of Stewart-Haas Racing shutting down NASCAR teams at the end of the season. And Josh, you and Jen are the experts on that. I'm interested to hear both of y'all's take on this.
Yeah, Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just try to be brief because I know there's been a lot of discussion on it, but I would say it's surprising but not shocking, mainly because there were rumors of this for the past month or so. Mm-hmm. Certainly feel for all of the employees at Stewart-Haas, the behind the scenes, the front office, and know there's some really good people there that will hopefully land on their feet, gives them plenty of time, and certainly some really talented drivers. But at the end of the day, it's hard to argue with the reasoning. Gene Haas and Tony Stewart both have a lot of other things going on in their professional and personal lives right now, and neither felt like they were fully committed. So there's a demand for those charters with other teams wanting to expand. So if they're going to get out, now is probably the right time to do it. While sad as it may be to see a 15-year plus, Cup Series team that's won championships, has produced some memorable moments in our sport over the last 15 to 20 years, start to exit.
Yeah, I would agree. The quality of racing that was coming out of them, I think, wasn't as strong. So I think it was a little more obvious that, Gene Haas is very invested in F1, continues to be. Tony Stewart's more in NHRA because his wife does drag racing, and he's been doing some as well. So it wasn't surprising, but like you said, it is sad because you have some up and coming drivers that I think will do well. And Josh Berry had put something on Twitter, and basically kind of reposted the announcement from Stuart Haas. And I think it was Marcus Lemonis that actually commented, I've got you or something. So he may land in a ride or, get some funding somewhere. But you're right. Those 4 charters are valuable, and it'll be curious to see who picks those up.
I'm not sure. I know 2311 has been rumored for one. Front Row Motorsports announced, I think yesterday or the day before, that they're expanding to a 3rd team. So you'd imagine they're getting one, and then Trackhouse is the other team. So
yeah, does RFK have the money? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Brad has said he needs an investor. So I don't know. And then everybody likes to talk about the possibility of Dale Jr. getting into the Cup Series, but everything I've heard and from him personally on his platforms and just other sources, I don't see that happening unless he gets someone like a Marcus Lemonis to partner with him that he's not the only financial backer. Racing in the Cup Series is a much different financial commitment than the Xfinity Series.
Mm-hmm.
Other news this week, Charlotte Motor Speedway is going to adjust their Roval course for the NASCAR playoffs. The Charlotte Motor Speedway race will be the final race before they cut from 12 to 8. And again, Josh and Jenny are a little bit more familiar with this course. I know it's 17 turns in it, and they're doing this to provide additional passing opportunities for drivers and force a competitive rethink is what I was reading. Y'all's thoughts on this and how it may alter, change, impact the playoffs as we go from 12 drivers to 8 in October?
Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, my thoughts were I agree. There really weren't a lot of passing zones in there, so I think it's going to make it a little more competitive, and especially at the juncture of where they are within the playoffs. So I think people have liked the Roval, but I think the competition could be better. So I'm actually pleased they're doing this.
Yeah, I think doing some tweaks are good for that course. The biggest change to me is when they're coming out of the infield section back onto the oval turn 1. There's going to be a real hairpin turn there that will cause a lot of braking, and I think that's where you're going to see some action, guys getting into each other. So not anything significant, but enough that I think it'll help with some of the passing, and we'll see how the Roval turns out for 2024.
Yep, should be good.
And then finally, before we make these picks, your thoughts last week, rain shortened Coca-Cola 600. Christopher Bell takes it home. Josh?
Yeah, I went up to Charlotte just to see all the pre-race ceremony, the fan zone, check that out, just to see what the Charlotte team does. They do a phenomenal job up there, and the pre-race ceremonies with all the military integrations, very moving. And then, I got out and headed south, listened to the radio, and got home and settled down to watch a few hundred more miles, and unfortunately the rains came. So that's a tough decision for NASCAR and the track when you've got so many different stakeholders to think about. And it's not just the race car drivers. I know that's the easy one to point to. Well, those guys could race till 2 or 3 in the morning, and I don't think that that's wrong, but there's so many other people working at the racetrack that have been there a long time, and I think those things start to come into consideration. It's not an easy decision as a track operator, as a sport. I know there's been a lot of commentary on it from both sides. As a race fan, I would love to have seen them continue to go, and usually when they start to dry the track, the next step is getting back racing. So I think that's probably the part that was the toughest, is seeing them out there making that attempt to dry the track and then ultimately making the decision, later that they just weren't in a position to resume the race.
And real quick, it was disappointing for Kyle Larson because he ran so exceptionally well at the Indy 500, just had that one mistake. Yeah. I mean, he was running really, really strong. You were seeing him get more aggressive and setting people up for passes more. It was exciting to see that. So he gets to Charlotte and then, doesn't. So it was that. I felt bad for him, but it sounds like there's an opportunity probably for next year. So let's hope.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge, where things they're getting wild and wacky. Preston Thorne has had a rough several weeks here. Corley Pool Solutions, the official sponsor of the Checkered Flag Challenge. They believe in providing the highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price to you and your family. Give them a phone call today, 833-445-8109. That is flat rate pricing with Corley Pool Solutions, including all of the chemicals. All right, so the way this has worked, Josh, I think Jen normally sends you a sheet.
I forgot, so I apologize for that.
All right. Preston is now 5 behind Josh, 6 behind Jen, and 13 behind Reggie. And so that beginner's luck has appeared to have worn off for you. We are
Sophomore slump.
Oh, there you go. Sophomore slump. Read all the press clippings about your abilities and now took the summer off. I got you. Okay. All right. The Enjoy Illinois 300 this week. Let's start with some picks from you. Where are you going?
I have a pick, but I'm not going to go with the pick that I initially thought I'm going to go with.
Oh.
I am going to go with Christopher Bell.
Oh.
Okay.
Back-to-back weekends, Christopher Bell. All right.
You.
That brings me to Josh. Josh, you've had a nice little run. You're 1 point behind Jen, 8 behind Reggie and I. You heard Preston there. He's going Christopher Bell. Where are you going?
Well, I'm going to go with a guy that unfortunately didn't get a chance to race a stock car last week. Give me Kyle Larson.
Oh, nothing wrong with that pick. That is a Vegas favorite there. All right, Jen, that brings us to you.
And I think I am going to go, as much as I don't like him, I think I'm going to take second place winner from last year, and I'm going to take, as Bill would say, Denny Hamlin.
That is a shame. That was my pick, and I was going to feel bad about it, but that is a great pick, Jen.
I appreciate that.
And I hope you win. I hope you win because I love him. Give me William Byron. And that leaves Reggie.
And so that would leave him with Truex.
He's got Truex. All right. I'm glad we got through that. Is the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge, official sponsor of our 2024 Pick'em. Josh, we always appreciate it. A lot to get to, a lot we got to this week. Appreciate you having time to talk a little bit about it.
I appreciate you having me on and look forward to connecting again next week.
Outstanding. Thanks, Josh.
Take care. There. The Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. Again, thank you to Corley Pool Solutions. Line up your maintenance today. 803-445-8109. We'll come back and we'll wrap it up. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Are tax troubles still weighing you down as we go into the month of June? Don't let that happen. Whether you're living in Columbia, Florence, or Myrtle Beach, it's time to call John Ecton and his team and start with a free consultation. 803-771-9800. If you've received one of those dreaded notices of intent to levy, that could be impacting your personal or business tax, and you need to contact a professional who has a local team dedicated to solving your issues. And they do it with proven local solutions. They've helped thousands of families and businesses, and you know what? You can be the next one. If you've got tax issues, please call the John Ecton Law Firm today, 803-771-9800. Tell them you heard it with Bill Gunner. Right now, again, 803-771-9800. You can get a free consultation. You can also visit them on the web, ectonlawfirm.com. Call them today. Are you ready for the summer thunderstorms? You know, the ones that bring the heavy rain, high winds, the summer hail that can knock out your roof and cause all kinds of damage. If you're not, it's time to call Mid-State Roofing, because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Larry Leitner and his team, they're ready to help you. You'll either speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee who will help protect that roof with a maintenance contract. So give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. You can visit them online as well, midstateroofing.com. From high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, wherever you're at, Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Mid-State Roofing is there to protect your business with a protective guarantee that they've installed a bonded system that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So make that phone call today, 803-356-1919, or visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Big thank you again to Josh Harris from Darlington Raceway for joining us as he does each and every week for our Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge as we hit getting closer to the halfway point there, Preston Thorne, getting closer to the halfway point. And, yeah, it's going to be time you start making a bit of a run there, buddy.
We're just going to stay in the game. We're going to keep our heads about us. We're going to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do, doing our due diligence. We're still in this for the long haul. It's a long season, Bill.
There you go. That's the attitude. That's the attitude. Long season, but only 93 days away. Actually, 94 days away from the Southern 500, 93 days away from college football, Preston, and some things are starting to leak out. Today's going to be a big day for scheduling news. It appears the Big 12 also now set to announce some games today. Some have actually leaked out. Brett McMurphy putting out a tweet for some Big 12 games. Penn State at West Virginia. Noon game on Fox. So if South Carolina gets a nooner against Old Dominion, and we'll learn that from the SEC later today, all right, you might just have to miss Penn State at West Virginia. Is that a loss?
I'll be okay.
Okay, all right. I do like this one. Prepare yourself accordingly. This is some other game times. This is SEC and Ole Miss. This is week 3. Ole Miss at Wake Forest. It'll be played on the CW channel.
I told you, the CW channel got me last year. They had a referee cam. They had all kinds of innovative things happening. You combine the high tech with the low tech Jefferson Pilot feel to the. I'm here for it. Is there a chance that we can get any games on the CW this year? It's not going to happen for
Clemson.
us? Ooh.
It's possible. That's the only.
I hope.
I do like this. Buddy of mine, Chris Gordy in Houston, puts on Twitter tonight on the CW at 4 p.m. It's for Forensic Files. At 5 p.m., an all-new episode of Walker. And at 6:30, Ole Miss and Wake Forest.
Supernatural after that.
Yeah.
Supernatural at 10. Yeah.
Gilmore Girls following up. There you go. A must-see episode of the Gilmore Girls. 2:30 today. The SEC, you'll kind of want to be locked into Twitter. That's probably where it'll be. Well, maybe they'll have something, maybe SEC now, but I don't think it'll be on I don't think it'll be on television day, but they will announce the first 3 games of the football season. Now, we already know South Carolina, Kentucky, 3:30. But, yes, I will be plugged into, and I am pulling for Noon game against Old Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the nooner.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get that baby in, and then give me the 7 o'clock LSU kickoff. Give me the prime time, maybe SEC Network or ESPN2 or something. I like those. Give me those, and then we got the 3:30. We'd have covered all the nice slots there in the first 3 weeks of football.
This is great that they're announcing this earlier than normal because people are trying to make plans.
Yep.
And so that's one thing that the NFL, as much as we talk trash about them, they do well in that announcing the games early enough so that you can start to make travel plans and arrangements and things like that. So this is great. I think this is a good trend, college football. Let's continue doing this so folks can start to make their arrangements.
So you will get that again 2:30 today. Probably have to be on Twitter. I know if you're listening here on 107.5 The Game, that's about the halftime show wrapping up. They will have that for you too as it pops out.
Yeah,
on
we don't
Twitter.
get breaking news breaking news. Charges against Scotty Scheffler have been dropped. That was our crowning achievement. And then there's
I'm so shocked.
Yeah, a big to do about nothing. They took away our story, Bill. Does that mean that we did not break that? Does that get retracted from our
No,
record
we
books?
were on top of that all over. Hey, it might have been our reporting and our breaking aspect of it that then helped get it dropped.
Exonerated Scotty.
And then we'll get into a lot more. We'll have a fun show tomorrow. Obviously, we'll get you ready for the regional tomorrow afternoon, starting up in Raleigh. 2 o'clock first pitch, 1:45 pregame. We might have to, depending on how this goes today, though, we may have to devote a segment to Jorge Lopez of the Mets, who appears to be about to be cut by the Mets today.
Yeah, and I do have a development on this really quickly. So what the development is that Jorge speaks English as a second language, and as I listened to it, he didn't say I play on the worst team. He said I'm the worst teammate ever.
Ooh!
So just like everything on the internet, there's always some debate that could be happening here. But he might not be the worst teammate because he's about to get cut.
Well, yeah, he can go find another teammate to be bad teammates with another team. Preston, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
Enjoyable show. We'll be back tomorrow. Y'all have a great rest of the day.